This next incredible story about survival is about a man who was buried alive in a truckload of boiling tar and lived to tell about it. Our Christina Stevens with that story.
It's the time of year for love and laughter, a time for family.
Well, we should put some holly up here, babe, across the fireplace.
It's also a time of peace and reflection. John Flegg truly believes in miracles because he is one. July 23, 2007, a crash on Canada's busiest highway brings traffic to a grinding halt at the height of rush hour. Fire Station 143 is among those to get the call.
It looked kind of like a war zone. Everything was black.
It was a truck that had been blown apart. The cabin chassis had been separated, and it was sitting in a lake of hot tar.
John had been driving a load of liquid tar heated to 360 degrees Fahrenheit when he was cut off. The truck flipped and the tank burst. John was trapped in the cab and buried in boiling tar. It spewed across the highway and heat radiated from the pavement, making it impossible at first for rescue crews to even approach.
When I saw him, I mean, it was horrific.
And he was spent most of the time screaming, "Kill me."
His face was covered with tar, something akin to the Phantom of the Opera mask. His nose was plugged, his eyes were covered and pasted shut, his ears were full of tar, and the only area that was open was his chin and his mouth, providing the airway.
The part that made it sort of surreal was the fact that he knew exactly what had happened. And he was going, I'm on fire, you know, help me, please cool me down. And I would take the line and put some water on his legs, because he's totally dipped in tar, everything. He said, I know what's happened, I know exactly what's happened, please kill me. And that was not nice.
I got on some overalls and just climbed right inside. I had to take some bandage scissors to cut him out of his clothes.
And basically peel back the clothing like a shell and lift him out of it. So all of his clothing stayed in the vehicle. All his body hair and a fair bit of skin stayed with his clothes. And his head was stuck to the headliner of the truck.
So we sawed that, we'd cut the roof out and we sawed around, and he went in with that.
We tried to start a couple of IVs on him, but we couldn't get anything. Just the tar he was covered in tar. So we ended up using an intraosseous drill.
Medics had to drill into John's shin to put the IV directly into the bone marrow, pumping in fluids and finally morphine to curb the excruciating pain. It had been an hour since the crash. Despite the ordeal, none of the emergency workers involved consider themselves heroes, instead pointing to this man, a passerby who got there first and thrust his arms into the burning tar to hold up John's head.
Yeah, that's the fella there. Look at his arms.
The asphalt was running. It's hot. We just ran over to the cab, tried to get him out. That's how come I tried to pull him out, but it's full. Oh, it's slick.
Since that day 2.5 years ago, Ivan Landry has refused to talk about it again, not even with John.
I am very grateful to the man. He's, you know, like a guardian angel sent to help me. I was alive when nobody thought I would be.
John suffered third-degree burns to 70% of his body. There was even tar down his throat and in his lungs. No one thought he'd make it until he awoke from a coma 3 months later.
I didn't even know what had happened. And with the tube in your throat, you can't talk.
Okay, I got that one.
Countless surgeries followed, and still without memory of the crash itself, he began to comprehend just how bad his injuries were.
I was nothing more than a newborn baby in a bed. 43 years old and having to have someone feed you, shave you, do all that stuff.
The recovery from a major injury like John sustained is something that it's hard for any single person to ever imagine what it takes.
Chief Medical Officer at St. John's Rehab Hospital, Dr. Joel Fish, says here John began the toughest battle of his life as he fought to regain even the most basic abilities.
Putting on socks, putting on your shirt, buttoning up your clothes.
So this is where John came. We did therapy every day here.
John's physiotherapist, Stacy Mendel, says they soon realized they were dealing with someone special.
The thing that struck me with John specifically was the fact that he kept telling me that his life was now changed and for the better, which I think is just a fabulous thing.
Is that okay?
Yeah. The ring finger was still there. But when I tried to get up one day, the ligaments all snapped, so it was always at a 90-degree angle.
It had to be amputated, just one of countless surgeries. But despite all the complications, he would only see a world of opportunity.
People laugh at my email because it's Tar Baby. You know, I was born again in that accident. I've got a second chance at life.
You don't scare me.
John says he's made great friends in recovery, and he's had a chance to do all those things he missed out on during his years as a trucker. But most of all, he's engaged to Anna, the love of his life, who he met after the accident. Yet he doesn't see any of that as at odds with what he said that day.
You asked them to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of the hardest things for my family to hear, is me saying that. But it seems like a very intelligent thing to say when you're in that situation.
What he does regret is that his rescuers had to hear it.
You can still hear, you remember the screams. He was in a lot of pain, you know. Yeah, you feel for him.
So 6 months later, John called them up to let them know he was okay.
He explained who he was, and I said, "Are you kidding me?" Because we had it as he's passed away.
Ryan Fogarty admits the crew was worried about meeting John, but ended up inspired.
It's like one of the happiest things of their career. And it's just one of those moments. So you pick the worst day of your life, you multiply it by about 100 times, and that's the day he had. And he's so up, it's ridiculous.
Having retired, Wes MOFFATT wasn't there, and this is the first he's seen of a token of thanks left by John.
He's a soldier. I'm glad it's okay.
Yeah, not just okay, but he's happy.
Yeah, so am I.
I have a really wonderful life. You know, I'm a very rich man right now.
John says he has the same worries as everyone else. Will he be a good husband, a good father? He just has a few extra hurdles along the way.
It's a big, beautiful world out there. There's so many experiences to go out and live and do that you have to keep pushing yourself to go and do them.
Yeah, that's good. That's enough.
You like that?
Yeah.
Good.